everyone downplays how many times Joe took shots at Deegan.
Well, and this is what makes that video that you have on 2017, because if you look, Tomac realizes there's less than 5 minutes left, and he goes and he runs away with the race, and he wins by 10 seconds because he was way faster than Dunge. So all of a sudden it dawns on him, he slows down. Now, this is where Tomac shows his incredible, racecraft. With 1 lap to go, with 4 corners to go, he slows down, lets Dunge pass him, comes in the next corner and just blows him.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. Here's Anderson.
This is Anderson taking Reed out. So now Dunge has just lost, Tomac has just lost his biggest ally, because Anderson is riding for Husqvarna here. So you've got the KTM Pierre group. Dunge has an ally. Tomac has Grant and Reed. Reed just gets taken out by Anderson. So Tomac pauses. Dunge goes.
He lets him.
Now watch him in the next corner. He smashes the shit out of him. Hopes that he can get around. Grant goes through the inside. Anderson goes for the win. And now Dunge is sitting in 4th place, crossing the finish line, and he loses the championship by 5 points. Tomac does. Now, Johnny, let me propose something to you. How much different would that hit have been if it was double points?
Would have been everything.
I don't think Dunge would have Dunge would be picking himself up off the ground, because yes, Tomac pushed him up. And if you go back early in the race, Johnny, I think it was they're only like 2.5 minutes in. Tomac pushes Dunge completely off the track. And I know you're really big on the fact that they shouldn't accelerate. And if you watch, there's a plume of dust behind Dunge where he looks like he hauls ass and goes to the inside.
Coach, so we have another comment by Tony B. Deegan went after Joe 5 or 6 times, but never once succeeded. It was by design. That was inherently by design. He knew that he didn't want to get penalized, because if he would have gotten penalized, he's kind of losing the championship there too. But I also had an individual here. I'll have to try to, I probably can't put it up because of the fact that I'm streaming on Instagram as well right now. But I had an individual was like, hey, have you ever thought about, they both had like 157 points. And if Deegan was to win and Joe was to get 3rd or so, even with a 5-point penalty, Deegan still would have won. So it made sense for him to try to block pass him, take him out, do something, because even with a penalty, he would have been able to win.
But I think it's bigger than that, Johnny. I think Deegan's hoping that Joe doesn't finish, because Deegan's smart enough to realize, okay, every time, and we can get into the idea that they should have black flagged him. I've seen a lot of that circulating around. But Deegan realizes, okay, I'm already on probation. I'm going to get docked X amount of points, right? He's got to make sure that the spread's big enough that even with him getting docked points, it's still going to be enough with the triple point format. So he's hoping he can just essentially do to Joe what he did to himself, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, before we go any further, isn't it interesting that Tomac slowed the race down? He took 3 pops at Dungry, takes a really big pop shot at the end. 4 guys goes around him, and Dunge wins the championship by 5 points right here. So he pushes him out. Now there goes Anderson on the inside. Josh Grant goes by him, and now Tomac is there. If Reed was still there, and Reed and Dunge had already had some beef, this was early in the race. So that's where he stalls it. He has to roll it backwards, and this allows Anderson to get into second. Now here's Reed. This is where Anderson retaliates and just runs him into the blocks. If Reed was able to get through that, and you have Tomac pushing him up in that last corner, 3 turns from the finish.
Well, and Tomac literally let Dungry by here.
Yeah, he pauses right here, lets him go, and Dunge immediately knows it because he looks over, checks up, but then Tomac just hangs out there for a second. There goes 2 guys on the inside, and if Reed was right behind Grant, Dunge gets 5th. Tomac wins the championship. No, I take that back. He had to get 5th or better, so he would have been, but he won the championship by 5 points that day. Nobody's calling for Tomac's head on a block. Nobody's saying Tomac's an asshole. Everybody's like, wow, Tomac did what he had to do, because if we go back and you watch that race, you have the gate drop, Tomac's gone. Tomac's way faster than everybody. Dunge keeps him in tow. Then all of a sudden, and I've already said this twice, so I apologize, it's redundant. It dawns on Tomac, even if I win the race, he's looking back and sees Dunge's in second. What's the big deal? He's got to change up the race, or there's no way he wins. He's hoping that Josh Grant can help him. He knows he's got Anderson in the mix. You can't tell me that Tomac doesn't see read on that blue bike coming in, and he's like, yes, I've got my chance. I've got the opportunity for 4 dudes to get in between us if I push him up high. Well, then what he doesn't know is that Anderson takes him out in this, at the beginning of the last lap, because that's literally where it was. It was the
Well,
beginning
then
of the
Anderson ends up winning that race,
Anderson wins it, and this is what's so cool. When you stop and you think about that, nobody,
He wins
I mean,
by what Tomac does right here.
yeah, he wins because Anderson goes on the inside. Josh Grant comes right behind him. Tomac calls the ass. Of course, Josh Grant lets him go. And then Dunge ends up 4th, wins by 5 points. But can you imagine if it was triple points? So the whole scenario changes. And this is the same night that Zach Osborne sawed off Joey Savacci's front wheel in the last corner.